Hi, my name is Brenda Boychuk, and I'm an instructor at Laurie's Country Cottage, and I'm here today to talk to you about a beautiful bag that I've made using 2.5-inch squares. I love the size of this bag. It's a nice big oak bag, and I think it's going to be great for going to the farmer's market and picking up all my veggies and bringing them home. But when I first looked at a bag with 2.5-inch squares, I went, oh, wow, that's a lot of work trying to get it all pieced together. But we've got a secret tool today that's going to help you make getting all your intersections at perfect intersections, sorry, is what I'm trying to say, and all your squares are going to be the exact same size. Because as you know, when you buy a jelly roll, and for people who aren't familiar with what a jelly roll is 2.5-inch strips, and most of them come with 40 different colors in a roll. So they're beautiful to work with. They give you a great variety of different colors in order to make a bag like this. But the problem is they're cut by machine, and they cut through a whole stack of fabric at one time, so they're not always 100% accurate. And therefore, it makes it a little frustrating when you're trying to sew them together and you're trying to get everything matching and all lined up. It's really hard to do sometimes, but we've got a secret that's going to help you. Our special secret for making this bag accurate and not having to deal with miscut 2.5-inch strips is to use a product called Quilt Smart, and the pattern is for a Mondo bag. So this is what the pattern looks like, and inside the pattern you're going to get 2 panels, and each panel, I'll turn that so it's the right way for you to look at, looks like this. And when you open it up, there's actually enough on, each panel has 2 sheets on it, and I know that the camera's not picking this up too well, but I've got it actually cut apart. So what you're going to do when you open it up, you're going to take your panels and you're going to cut them apart so that they look like this. And you'll have 4 of these all total. And this is what we're going to work on, and it is, you'll notice that it's got the 2.5-inch grids on it. One end of it has a handle stitching line, and the other end shows you where the center bottom is going to be. If you can read the writing, this is your non-glue side. We actually are going to be putting all of our 2.5-inch squares on the opposite side, and you can feel it. You'll feel the roughness of the little bit of glue. So what you're going to want to do, and this is the big secret that makes this so much easier to use, it makes your product so much better. If I was to lay out this bag without using this product, I would lay out all my 2.5-inch squares, but then when I took it over to the sewing machine, I could see that I would end up going and I would start shifting things, and I'd pick them up in the wrong order, and I would have to, I've got a whole pile of squares here outside of the camera that you can't see, and I would then have to pick them up. But because we're going to use this product, we're going to lay out all of our squares on here. And what I actually did, because I laid out all 4 panels at the same time, and because I wanted to make sure I didn't have any fabrics touching each other, I went and I wrote a 1 on the back of this one, and then on the next one I wrote a 2, 3, and 4. So I labeled each one to make it easier for when I went to put it together. So once I've laid out all my squares and I know what I want, I'm pulling out a lot of blues right now, but I do have other colors in my stash here. Oh, now I got 2 purples together. Anyway, you would sit here and you'd play with all your little squares, and once you get them all laid out and you've got the whole sheet covered, you're going to want to take your applique pressing sheet and bring this over to your iron, or actually I did mine on my ironing board, and then I put my applique pressing sheet over top and I just pressed it down and did a nice iron on it to make sure that they were all stuck together. So then once these are all stuck together and you've got them all ready, you're going to end up with something. I just got to clear out this, and I'm going to just go through my pile here. You're going to end up with a piece that looks like this. So this is mine all sewn together. And you can see that even though they were supposed to be 2.5-inch squares, when I've ironed them on here, they're not accurate. And so my bag would not have been accurate if I wasn't using this tool. So once I've got them all ironed together like this, and I get all 4 of them put together, I'm going to then take them to my sewing machine, and I'm going to I'm going to sew them along the shorter lines. So you can see that I've got all these short lines, and I'm going to go and sew down these lines across this way first. Once I have them all sewn down, then I'm going to take and I'm going to do a snip so that they're loose, and that I can take and then take them to the iron and press them so that the seam allowances are going opposite ways. So I'll just show you a picture of that pressed. So this is what it looks like when I've got it all pressed, and you can see that one row is going one way and the other row is going the other way. And this actually tells you, so you can see you've got little arrows here. So it says press all your seam allowances this way, press all your seam allowances this way. So then whenever we take, the next step is to take it to the machine, and we're going to fold it. And you see how it just automatically folded right along that dotted line. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 of an inch seam. And when I stitch that 1/4 of an inch seam, I don't need any pinning. It's going to come out accurate, perfectly lined up. So this is my finished product after I've done that, and you can see how nicely my squares all look together. And so then once I've sewn the seam, I should mention, I'm going to iron it. And again, there's an arrow right here that says press, so it tells me I'm going to press all my seams in this direction. Whenever you have finished doing it and you have it at this point, you're going to want to measure it. And the pattern says that it should come out to 8.5 by 24.5. And when I measured mine, it worked out perfectly. I had the exact size that I had expected. So once you do that, you're going to then go and take your fusible interfacing or soft and stable. Now I had mentioned that I wanted mine for the purpose of taking to the market, so I wanted to be able to fold mine up. So I used fusible interfacing on mine, but you can also use soft and stable on the inside of it, and soft and stable will give you a nice bag that will stand up and have lots of body to it. So you're going to take, and out of your lining fabric and out of your fusible fleece, you're going to cut 4 pieces that are the exact same size as your finished grid. So in my case, mine was 8.5 by 11, and so I cut mine to match. And then once you've cut your fusible interfacing and your lining, you're going to want to fuse them together. And so here's mine fused together, and you can see that they go. Now I went ahead and did the next step here, and this is going to be a little hard to show you on the camera, but I want to take and I want to sew my 4 pieces together so that they look like an L. I'll put it that way, so that it looks like an L. And then once they're sewn together into an L shape, I'm going to then take and sew them together to make an X. So, and I'm trying to see if you guys can actually get this in the camera. So I'm going to line up my center, and I'm going to sew it into an X. And you're going to do this with both your lining and your outside fabric. And you want to get it laid out into this shape. And then once you've gotten the center sewn together, the next thing that you want to do, and I'm just going to move these 2 pieces aside, is you start sewing it into the bag shape. So again, I'm working with the lining at this point, and I've sewn up 3 sides, but I haven't sewn the last because I wanted to show you. So we actually take it, and so this is me sewing that X in the bottom like that. And then you go and you take and you want to line this up, and it does not go to the end. It goes, so line up your center. You'll notice here that I actually clip the corner so that it will fold properly. And then I go across here and I pin those together and I stitch from one end to the other. I stopped a 1/4 of an inch before the end of the seam because I actually sewed it from this side up. And that made it easier for turning it right side out and when I finished the bag. So just a little tip for you there. Also, when you're putting this together, on one of your seams, you're going to want to leave a hole in it. And the purpose of the hole, sorry, I'll make sure that's in the camera. The purpose of the hole is to allow you to turn it right side out. This is only done on the lining piece. And it makes kind of a really unique shaped bag because it's actually spiraling as it comes up. You'll see that it's, I'm trying to get this so you can see, but you can see it's not coming straight up, it's coming up on an angle. So when you're putting it together, it looks a little weird, but that is how it's meant to go. It spirals up. So then I did the same thing on my my outside of my bag, and I sewed it together. So you can see now that once you get them all sewn together, you end up with a bag that looks like that. The next thing you're going to want to do is make your handles. So in order to make your handles, you're going to iron on one side of the fabric. You cut a 2.5 by 26 inch piece of fabric, and you're going to, on one side of it, you're going to put on the fusible fleece, but not on the other side. I tried to put it on both sides. It's lots of fun to turn right side out, so don't do that. So I did that. Then I turned it right side out, and I pressed it to get it to lay flat, and then I top stitched it, and that makes our handles. And then once you've got your handles made, you're going to attach them to the bag, and you'll notice that on here, sorry, I'm trying to get this turned around to the right angle for you, that on here there was that corner that says top point, handle stitching line. So you're going to want to put your handle on here and then stitch along that line. And you're going to do that so that you've got both handles attached. And you can see here when I said I didn't totally sew to the end, you'll see that I left that 1/4 inch loose at the end. Then what you want to do is you're going to actually take your lining, once my lining is sewn together properly, and I'm going to take my lining and my bag and put right sides together and line them up, and I'm going to put the handles on the inside of here. Sorry, and I'm going to pin all of these edges. And then what you do is stitch along this line here. When you get to the handle edge, I actually stitched just slightly on the inside of this line so that it was stitched in nicely, and you go all around the outside of the bag. Before you turn the bag right side out, you're going to want to clip the fabric right here on the lining and just make a little clip into here. And I do have that already on both the lining and the outside. And you'll notice I have that already on the outside of the bag. So I've made my little clip here. And that will make you better, when you turn it right side out and you're all done, it will look a lot better. And you will end up with a nice finished corner. On one of these, I forgot to clip it, and I didn't realize that I'd forgotten until I turned it out and I was ironing it. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave this to show you, because you'll see if you don't do that clip that your corner is flattened, it rounds off. And then once you've clipped it, turned it right side out, you're going to want to iron it and top stitch this down. And then once you've done that, that hole that we left in the middle, you will turn right side out. On the bag pattern, and then you just, once you've turned it all right side out, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself, then just top stitch or hand stitch the opening closed. On the bag pattern, it gives you the option to put in a pocket. And I don't know if you can see the pocket here, but I have a pocket. And I just wanted to go over the instructions for making the pocket if you wish to do that. If you would like to put a pocket in your bag, what you're going to want to do before you fuse the lining fabric to the fleece fabric, when you first cut it out, on one of your pieces, cut it out at the full width of the fabric, so you're 8.5 by the width of the fabric. And then take and mark 9 inches down from the top, And the center crease that's in your fabric, take that and pull it forward and then stitch it down. And when I mean pull it forward, I brought it up to my 9-inch marks here. So I took that center crease, brought it up to my 9-inch marks, pinned it down, and I stitched it. Then what I did, once I had that done, then I trimmed it to be my 24.5 inches long. And after I've done that, then I fused it onto my fusible fleece. So the inside pocket is optional, and it kind of runs at a weird angle. I'm not sure that I would really put it in the bag, but it is something you could if you'd like to. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew how to do that. Quilt Smart also has a pattern called the Biddy Bag. And the Biddy Bag is this cute little purse that was made by Barb. It would be great for a lunch purse or, lots of different things. I could think of using it for kids' toys or a little purse to carry stuff out in. And it's a really cute bag. It uses the same techniques as what I just showed you. And I really like it. It's cute. So I just wanted to thank you for joining this session and getting my take on how to do perfect corners when using 2.5-inch squares.